I'll do a chant or a song that I learned back in the Black Hills about, I don't know how many years ago. I was in my 20s. So if you could put the words up, and I will sing it through one time, and then if you want to join me, you're welcome to do that. It goes like this. Hey, hey, ya, na, hey, ya, hey, ya, na. Hey ya, hey ya, na, hey ya, hey ho, hey ya, hey ho. I walk in beauty just for you, just for you. I talk in beauty just for you, just for you. I sing in beauty just for you, just for you. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ho. Hey, hey, ya, na, hey, ya, hey, ya, na. Hey, hey, ya, na, hey, ya, hey, oh. Hey, ya, hey, oh. I walk in beauty just for you, just for you. I talk in beauty just for you, just for you. I sing in beauty just for you, just for you. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ho. So, in recognition of National Boarding School Remembrance Day, that was September 30th, Indigenous Peoples Day coming up on October 14th, and Native American Awareness Month in November, I thought it appropriate to tell a story based on one of the many, many teachings of the medicine wheel that I learned from, first of all, from Lakota and Cheyenne people out west. There are similar teachings here among us, among the Ojibwa as well. There are many teachings, and this is only one. So the medicine wheel is pictured there for you. Medicine is something that helps us learn, and it helps us be healthy and become healthier. Medicine is the sacred powers that we use to understand who we are and our relationship to all things, the supernatural, and all things around us. And a wheel, think of it like a mirror. It is a mirror in which everything that exists is reflected in relationship to each other thing. It is the total universe. So if you're holding a mirror in front of yourself and you turn this way, you always see yourself and you see everything in relationship to where you are at that time. So at birth, everything, all that exists has a place on the wheel. All things within this universe know of their harmony with every other things, but it is human beings that have the determining power on that wheel. And there are 8 positions in this teaching that represent all things on the medicine wheel and can be understood as ways of learning as we walk on this wheel of life. The 8 positions are these: Mother Earth, the stars and the universe or the sky, spirit, and people or human beings. And the 4 directions represent the 4 great powers. And the colors of this wheel are the Ojibwa colors. The colors that I'm going to be talking about this morning are a little bit different because they come from out west. But east is represented by the eagle, and its color is the gold or yellow of the morning star. And the gift of that place on the wheel is illumination. It is where we see things clearly, far and wide, as an eagle sees. The south is represented, south is that direction, is represented by a mouse or a coyote. The color is green. It is the place of innocence and trust for perceiving closely as a mouse would do, perceiving closely the nature of the heart. The west is represented by the bear. The color is black. It is the looks within place, the introspective place. So if you are an introspective person, that is your place on the wheel, or that is one place among many on the wheel to learn about. The north then is represented by the buffalo, and the color is white. It is the place of wisdom and giving, as the buffalo has always done. All things on the wheel have life. Rocks and trees, the two-leggeds, the four-leggeds, all things have life. And there's a writer named Karl Starkloff who had this to say, if you can find that on the, if not, that's okay, I'll read it. It's right, it's coming, it's coming. The basic religious attitude which underlies all these rituals is the consciousness of living in a world full of living things. Of all these things, only people have a determining power, and that is why it is essential that we learn of our place on this wheel. All other places and all other things on the wheel have an understanding of their own place on the wheel. It is human beings that need to learn. We must learn of the harmony that happens when a wheel turns. If we do not, then the wheel turns in an awkward way, or it stops and balance is disrupted. All of us together can look into these teachings, these mirrors, to see ourselves and where we are reflected in any given moment in our lives. One final piece before I tell you this story. A name is a symbolic meaning of an individual's medicine. Names tell of the individual's way of perceiving things, of their place on the wheel. At birth, each of us is given a beginning place within these four great directions on the wheel, and it is our first way of perceiving things. After we understand then our first place on the wheel, we grow. We must grow by seeking understanding in each of the four great ways. And when we do this, then we learn to turn on that wheel of life as we walk through it. As Lori Sherman stated last week, names can change as our journey on the wheel progresses. So the story that I'm going to tell you is from this book called 7 Arrows, and I'll have it available if you want to take a look at it afterwards to get the name of the author. It's an old book, but it's old and well worn for a good reason. So I don't know if you can turn the volume down on this a little bit, because I might get a little animated here, okay? All right, so once there was a mouse, a very busy mouse, as all mice are, and the mouse was always doing mouse-like things, seeing things very close and walking, running around and touching his whiskers on anything, exploring all kinds of things. And the mouse one day heard a strange sound, and it began to wonder what the sound was. It had not heard it before. And so this little mouse went over to another mouse and said, "Do you hear a roaring in your ears?" And the other mouse looked at this mouse and said, What are you, crazy? I don't hear anything. There's nothing. So the mouse thought, well, okay, maybe there isn't. But it heard that roaring again. So it walked up to another mouse and said, "Do you hear a strange roaring in your ears?" "Oh, no, there's nothing. Just get busy. I'm busy. Don't bother me. Just go get busy yourself." So little mouse thought, well, okay, maybe there isn't anything there. But it went back to its business, and as it was doing its little mouse-like things, exploring all over the place in the world around it, finding seeds and nuts and gathering together, and it heard this sound again, this roaring. And so it decided it was going to investigate and find out what this roaring was. So it walks a little ways to the edge of the mouse village, and it began to get a little fearful because it had never been that far before, away from all its cousin mice. And so as it was journeying a little bit further, it was getting more and more afraid. But it finally went to a place where it looked up and it saw a raccoon. And of course, a mouse is afraid of a raccoon. So it kind of, hunkered back a little bit, and it was looking at it and said, finally, but I need to know what this roaring is. So it said, excuse me. And that raccoon looked up and said, "Oh, hello, little brother. How you doing? How's it going, man? Well, I'm just wondering if you've heard a roaring in your ears. Raccoon kind of says, "A roaring? Well, yeah, that's the river." The river? Well, what is a river? The mouse said, I don't know what a river is. What is a river? Well, the river is great. It has great medicine, says the raccoon. So would you like to go to the river and get some medicine? Well, the mouse said, well, of course. So the first thing that the mouse did was say yes, and then I thought, well, I'm not going to just follow a raccoon to the river that I don't even know exists. But I need to know what this roaring is. So it decided to go with the raccoon, and they're walking along, and the mouse is discovering new and interesting things that the mouse had never noticed or smelled or seen or perceived before. And so they're walking along, and they come to the river. And the mouse looks into the river, and it sees itself in the river. And it says, well, what are you doing in the river? And the mouse hears a voice, and the voice says, well, hello, little cousin. And the mouse looked up, and there, out on this great river where things were floating by and roaring and rushing by, and there were new things that it never seen, it saw a frog on a lily pad out in the very gentle part of the river. And the frog looks at the mouse and says, hello, do you want some medicine? And the mouse said, well, of course I want some medicine. And then the frog says, well, crouch down as low as you can, and then jump as high as you can. Well, mice do that, but so it's okay. So it crouched down, and it jumped up, and it saw in the distance the sacred mountains. It had never seen mountains before, these sacred mountains. And it was at the top of its jump, and then you know what happened? It came down, and it fell right into the river. Splash! And the mouse had never been in a river before. So it scrambled up to the bank, and it looked out at the frog and said, you tricked me! You tricked me! And the frog looks at the mouse and says, little cousin, don't let your fear and your anger blind you. What did you see? And the mouse said, I saw the mountains, the sacred mountains. And you now have a new name. Well, what's that? It is Jumping Mouse. Oh, okay. Well, so then the mouse got over its fear, and it said, well, you know what I need to do, frog? I need to go back. I need to go home, and I need to tell everybody that there is a roaring, and it's called a river, and I was right about that. And I want to tell everybody that I've been to the river, and I've seen it, and there's mountains. So I'm going to go home and do that. And the frog says, well, okay. If you want to do that, turn around and go opposite the sound of the river, and you will find yourself back with your people. So Mouse did that. Went back, started to explain to everybody what it had been through, and the mice looked at this, the other mice looked at this little mouse and thought, this mouse is all wet. How did you get wet? Where have you been? And so the mouse tried to explain that there's a river and there's mountains out there. And they, and then the other mice were thinking, well, there must be something wrong with this mouse because it probably got eaten by something and it got spat out again. That's how it got all wet. And if that happened, we don't want anything to do with this little mouse anymore. And the little mouse was really hurt. This jumping mouse was really hurt. It struggled, and it finally just kind of reintegrated back into normal living and was doing all kinds of mice stuff. But it couldn't forget. It could not forget what it had experienced. So it decided, I can't deny. I remember what I saw and what I experienced, and I'm going to go on a journey, and I'm going to the sacred mountains. So it had to leave home. And so it was running away from its home, and it began to realize that the further it got from home, the more open the sky was, and it saw shadows in the sky, and it knew at that moment that there were eagles and another thing to be afraid of, because it was exposed and it might at any time be hit by an eagle and be eaten by an eagle. And so it was running, and it was running and running and looking up, and finally it saw a stand of sage, and it ran into the sage. And there it saw an old mouse. And the old mouse greeted the younger mouse and said, "Hello, welcome to my home. This is a wonderful place. I have everything that you need here. It's all here. You can be here as long as you want. You can stay with me. We'll be a family. You're my cousin. This is great." And the little jumping mouse said, "Truly, this is a wonderful place, but have you been to the river? And do you know about the great sacred mountains?" And the old mouse said, "Oh, yeah." Kind of patting the little mouse on the head and said, "Yeah, I know about the river. I've been to the river. But the mountains, they don't exist. They're a myth. Get over it. Stay here with me. Stay here with me, and we'll have a life together." And the little jumping mouse was thinking, I thank you, old elder mouse, but I can't stay here because I'm on a quest. I'm on a journey, and I have to go there. And so it walked over to the edge of the stand of sage where it was, and it began to leave. And as it was going out into that scary territory again, it knew the eagles were gathering up above, and it could hear the old mouse shouting, "Come back, you fool! Come back here! Don't go out there! You'll get killed!" But the little mouse, jumping mouse, just kept on going, afraid of what was ahead, but needing to go on a journey. So jumping mouse was running and running, and it looked up again, and it saw a stand of choke cherries. And it ran in there just as the shadows were going by. And it was safe. And it was exploring. Now, a new place again. So what do mice do? They explore. They get relocated sometimes, and they explore something new. And so it was looking around, and all this wonderful new seeds and berries and choke cherries. Wow. And then it looked up, and it heard this. And it went a little further, and it saw this huge, remember, mice are little, this huge, hairy mound lying on the ground. And it looked, and it had horns coming out of it. It said it was so big, this animal, that it could crawl into one of the horns and just disappear. And it was a buffalo. Never seen a buffalo before. And the buffalo said, "Hello, jumping mouse." The jumping mouse looked and said, What is wrong?" The buffalo says, "I am old and sick, and I'm dying. And I know my medicine has told me that only the eye of a mouse will heal me. But I know there is no such thing as a mouse. So I'm going to die." Well, I'm a mouse. I'm a mouse. So it kind of turned around, walked away, and it thought, well, what am I going to do? Well, I can't let this great being suffer and die. So it turned around and walked back over the buffalo, who was taking its last breaths, and it said, "Buffalo, I am a mouse, and I would like to give you one of my eyes." And as soon as the mouse said that, it went blind in one eye because its eye had gone to the buffalo. And the buffalo suddenly shook and stood up, and the ground was shaking all around this little mouse. And the buffalo stood up, and it looked down with compassion in its heart and said, "Thank you. You have given my sight, you have given my health back to me, and I know now you have given up part of your sight, but I know of your journey to the sacred mountains, and I would like to take you there. Run underneath me to the sacred mountains. I cannot go into them because I am not an animal of the mountains. I'm an animal of the plains, but I will take you there. And the mouse is thinking, you want me to do what? You want me to run underneath you all the way to the mountains? And the buffalo said, no, it's okay. I know where my hooves fall on the wheel of life. You will be safe, and the eagles will not see you. So they ran. They walked, and the mouse ran, and the buffalo walked. Underneath this great buffalo was this mouse. And it kept going and going and going, and finally it got to the base of the sacred mountains. And the buffalo looked down at the mouse and said, here you are. My journey is over. I must go back and guide others to the mountains, but you are here. And the mouse said, that was terribly frightening. Running underneath you this whole way. And the buffalo said, yes, I know. But you were safe with me because I know where my hooves fall. I know my place. Now I must leave so I can guide others. And so the buffalo went back, returned, and there was this mouse at the base of the sacred mountains. All of a sudden, everything is new. There are pine cones and acorns and different things. So it started investigating a little bit more and kept going a little further and a little further, and it suddenly looked up, and there was a wolf. A wolf sitting there, looking off into the distance. And the mouse was very excited and said, oh, hello, wolf. And the wolf said, wolf, wolf, yes, I'm a wolf, yeah. And the mouse said, what's wrong with the wolf? Oh, something is wrong with the wolf. Wolf, wolf, yes, I'm a wolf, yes. And then it kind of just stared off into the distance again. And the mouse was thinking, now what do I do? I know what will heal this wolf, but then I will be blind. But I can't, I've come this far, my cousins have brought me this far, I cannot let this wolf be like this. So it walked over very quietly to the wolf and said, wolf, and the wolf said, yes, wolf, wolf, so I know what will heal you. I want to give you my eye. And as soon as the mouse said that, it was blind. And so it could not see the tears coming down the face of the wolf, who could now remember and was now healed and whole again. And the wolf said to the mouse, I know of your quest. I know of your journey, and I, being an animal of the mountains, I will take you to the great medicine lake up in the mountains. I will guide you there where you will receive your medicine. So the wolf nudged the mouse and kept nudging it and steering it all the way through the mountains up to this great, beautiful, beautiful medicine lake where all things in life were reflected in this great, beautiful body of water. And the mouse got close to the water and drank some of it and was feeling wonderfully refreshed, yet very vulnerable at the same time. And the wolf said, I must now return to guide others. But you are here at the great medicine lake. This was your journey, and now I must go. Well, the mouse was blind. It couldn't run, it couldn't investigate, it could smell things, but it didn't know where any of these things were, and so it just sat there by this great medicine lake, thinking all the while that now I am utterly defenseless, and I feel the shadows. I sense the shadows of the eagles all around, and I know my time is near. And all of a sudden, an eagle. The mouse, it's like it was sleeping. And then it began to awaken. And it could see, blurry, but it could begin to see again. And it could feel the wind around it, and it could see things. And it saw in the distance, on the lake, it saw a blurry kind of shape sort of recognized it but wasn't sure, and it heard a voice saying, "Hello, little mouse. Do you want some medicine? Then crouch down as low as you can and jump as high as you can." And so the mouse thought, I will do that. And it jumped. And suddenly it felt underneath it, it felt the wind begin to lift it up higher and higher. And the higher it went, the clearer its vision became. And it looked down on this lily pad, and there was the frog. And the frog looked up at the mouse and said, "Do not be afraid. Hang on to the wind and trust." And the mouse did that. And it also heard the voice of the frog one more time saying, "And now you have a new name. It is Eagle." And the eagle flew away. Can you put that other song up, Juxta? I'd like to teach you another chant, another song. And I invite you to sing along with me. We'll do it a couple times. This is an echo song, however, so I will sing the first part, and then you can echo it back to me, and then we'll do it a couple times. It goes like this, and I'll point at you when it's time to sing yourself. So it goes like this. Oh, Wichita-yo, oh, Wichita-yo, oh, why-yo, oh, why-yo. May we all be like eagles, all be like eagles, flying so high, circle the universe, on wings of pure light, on wings of pure light. Oh, Wichita-yo, oh, Wichita, oh, why-yo, oh, why-yo. May we all be like eagles, all be like eagles, flying so high, circle the universe, circle the on wings of pure light, on wings of pure light.